finally in October. It is time for our monthly wrap up. I read so many amazing books in the month of September and I just couldn't wait. So we're going to talk about them. I'm going to give you my ratings.
Let's get into it.
I have 4 physical books. The other ones I read on audiobook through Libby or I read them on Kindle. But I read 8 total books in the month of September. I feel like that's like a happy
level of book reading.
Any less and I feel like, Allie, we're slacking, and any more it's like,
all right, girl, let's go outside, let's take a walk.
I keep track of all of the books that I read on this little reading tracker. I got this from my bestie and she wrote me this cute little note, so I just keep it on here. But this is how I keep track of my book ratings. Also on Goodreads, by the way, so go ahead and click on the description box if you want to follow me on there. But I do think that overall I had a really good reading month. I traveled in the month of September. I spent 2 weeks in Ohio and I'm really happy that I brought books with me. I ended up going through a lot of the books on my TBR shelf and I was able to, dabble in some new genres as well. So
without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about these books.
The first one I wanted to get into is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. I read Love and Other Words by her and I absolutely loved it. I also read The Honeymooners. That was a 5-star book for me, so I'm like obsessed with her at this point. Went ahead and listened to this. I gotta say I wasn't that impressed. I did give this a 3-star rating. This is a book about a girl who lives in like the wilderness, like
Montana.
As a Florida girl, there's a big difference. So when I say wilderness, please forgive me. But she owns this like travel guide type of business with her best friend. And they do like these adventure tours into the wilderness and they do campfires and stuff. She's kind of in a bad situation financially. Her dad has left her high and dry and she's just really struggling to make ends meet. She has an ex that she had a really bad falling out with. He like ghosted her all these years ago. One day doing one of these tours and he is on this tour with his friends and a lot of stuff goes down and they have to kind of like work together to solve some mystery that goes on. So you have a little bit of romance alongside of this mystery element in the book, which is kind of fun. But what bothered me was that it was so unrealistic, and I feel like the other books that I read were really plausible, were really like, oh my gosh, I could see this happening to myself or to other people. This one, it was just so far-fetched. It really didn't make too much sense to me, so it bothered me a little bit too much, and that's why I gave it a 3-star rating. But I can see why maybe people would like it a lot. If you like Christina Lauren, you will probably appreciate the character development with her main female characters kind of being a little misunderstood, and then you have their falling out breakup that kind of happened in the past, and then in the 3rd act we have a reunification possibly. So I feel like she does have some similar plot themes in her books. This one just didn't really wow me, so I have some other books of hers that I'm excited to get into. This one unfortunately just wasn't. I talked about this series actually in one of my last videos. I will go ahead and link it down below, but that was reading popular YA books and what did I think of them. And this series is a selection series by Kiera Cass. I read The Selection, The Elite, and The One, so it's like the first 3 books in this series. It's technically the only 3 books in this series because then you have like a spin-off or continuation.
Hear me out on this one.
I love YA books. I love a good dystopian just as much as the next person, okay? And I also find the concept of The Bachelor very entertaining. What really bothered me in this series as a whole was just the ending and book 3 in general. I feel like it was so wrapped up in like a condensed version of a series of events where it could have been drawn out more and more and the book could have gone on longer. I have read and I'm happy to read books that have more than just a couple of books in the series, or they're 400, 500, 600 pages. I'm ready to do my work. I'm ready to get down to the nitty-gritty and really understand these characters, flesh them out more. Let's get into the politics. Let's dive into this messed up government system that we have. We didn't really get that with this series. We really just focused on the romance and the love triangle that's going on here. And I think that's what bothered me the most. The selection is book 1, and I did give that one a 4 stars because it was wildly entertaining. I really loved our main girl, America. I thought she was really entertaining to read. Not that I actually rooted for her as a character. I did find a lot of flaws in her, but I did understand a lot of the things that she did. I do think she was a little naive, but again, we are reading in a YA lens. So we have teenagers that are growing up in this kind of messed up world, having to do adult-like things, and I can't necessarily fault her for her decisions. That being said, in book 3, things really changed, and it made me not really like the series as a whole. So book 1, I give 4 stars. Book 2, I also gave a 4-star rating. I thought it was, again, it was entertaining. It was fun. The concept of the Bachelor in this dystopian world where we have a bunch of girls trying to compete for the hand of the prince is really fun, and I like the relationships that she was making with her ladies' maids and the other girls in this competition. That was really cute. I liked also our prince. I thought he was really sweet, and I was rooting for him mostly out of most of the other characters in this book. Book 3, I only gave a 3-star rating. Honestly, I could dock it down another one, but I'm gonna give it some grace because it's YA, and maybe we just wanted to wrap it up for an audience that maybe their attention span is less than, or I don't know, whatever. Let me know if you have read this series, if you agree with me, if you feel like it could have gone on for a little bit longer. I think everything was just wrapped up in a messy bow at the end, and it just wasn't enough for me. Then I just went out of left field, okay, and I read a sci-fi. I know I'm not really known for that on my channel, to read any type of sci-fi, but I read this one and honestly it was really good. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Yeah, it was interesting. The first 5 chapters I was crying, and then from then on for like the next 3/4 of the book I was kind of confused, kind of mortified. The events that took place in here were intense, and it left off in a way where it's not necessarily a cliffhanger, but it does leave you interested in what's going to happen in the continuation of this story with our main guy. I think his name is Darrow. We have a world with, in Mars, and we have people that are divided up by factions and like colors. So if you are a red, you're like the scum of the earth. If you're gold, you're like the elite, and you have a lot of colors in between. And Darrow, our main guy, he is a red, so he works down in the mines, and a lot of bad stuff happens to him.
It's like a series of unfortunate events.
And then he is out for vengeance. So if you like a good revenge story, you're gonna really love this series. Although it may also make you really upset, because this is the straw that broke the camel's back villain origin story, if you will. But I am really happy that I read this book. I'm excited for it to continue on. There's 2 more books in this series, so stay tuned for an update on finishing this one. But highly recommend, if you are into sci-fi, and if you are not but want to get into it, maybe check this book out. And in case I didn't mention it, I did give that book a 4-star rating. Now on to a 5-star read. This was my favorite book, I think, of the month of September. By far, this book stood out to me.
It made me cry.
I almost gave Red Rising a 5-star rating, but there were moments where I was a little confused. This one was just impeccable, and I didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I did, because in what world are we gonna get emotional about a giant Pacific octopus? I'll tell you in what world. In the world of Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This book, honestly, I don't know what compelled me to purchase this. Maybe it was the cover. I mean, come on. If this doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what will. But when I tell you, this is a story of friendship, grief. We have a little mystery. We have some family dynamics we're dealing with here. Also, I was laughing, I was crying, I was confused, I was trying to work out a mystery, I was playing detective. Like I said, by the end of this book, I was very emotional. I was crying like the cry. I recommend this to everyone. I think everyone should read this book. Our octopus, okay, so we have the vantage point of a few characters here. and how their lives are intertwined in a really strange but beautiful way. Marcellus is the name of this octopus, and he lives in this aquarium. The janitor of this aquarium, we have her perspective as well. She had some tragedy happen to her years ago. It kind of just never really left her, so we get her vantage point of a lot of things going on in her personal life as well as her professional life, and other characters within the town. Just prepare yourself for a whirlwind of emotions, but I do think if you have the opportunity to give this book a chance, please do. This is a literary fiction, so again, it's not something I typically read, but I do want to read more books like this. If you have any recommendations, or if you've read this book and you feel like, oh, you would really like this one, please let me know, because it was good. Top tier, everybody. Now we have a book that I read. Honestly, I got it because the cover was cute, which is surprising because I'm not really a fan of illustrated covers. And it was
cheesy,
but it was entertaining. It was fun. It was whatever. I read it in a few hours, and I'm glad I read it. I think it, passed the time, but it's nothing to write home about. And that is The Bodyguard by Katherine Center. This book, honestly, the cover was just too cute, and I really liked the concept. We have a famous man, and then we have his hired protection agent person who is a woman, okay? And they have to go to his family's ranch and fake date so that they don't know that this woman is the bodyguard. So he pretends to his family, they lie, and they say, this is my girlfriend. And it's good. Honestly, it was fun. This is rom-com material. So if you're ready to laugh, if you're ready to cringe a little bit, you don't mind the cheese, I think you'd really like this book. Again, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. There is no spice in this as well. So if you want like a clean romance, I think this is a really good option for you. Yeah. I don't really have too much else to say about this book other than I gave it a 3 stars. All right, and then the last book I gave a 4-star rating. This one I actually listened to on audiobook, although I do have the physical copy. I enjoyed this book. Maybe I would have enjoyed it more reading the physical copy, because at first I was a little confused of what was happening, and that could be in large part to listening to it and you are just hearing one woman's voice, and I'm trying to nitpick who's speaking, what's really going on, the setting, everything like that. I think I can visualize it better when I'm reading a physical copy. Regardless, this book was really entertaining and different, and that is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This book cover is stunning. Let's get a close up here because she is just really, really beautiful. This is a great story about the art of storytelling and stories in general. What do books and stories do for the imagination? And this is a magical realism story, okay? So we are set in this historical fiction world of the late 1800s. Our female main character, January, she is the ward of this really, really rich scholar named Mr. Locke, and she lives her life in his house as his ward. She is really honestly confined to the walls in this house. She has a very, very vivid imagination. She gets in trouble a lot because of it. We have some magical realism elements, like I said, that take place in here. So be open-minded when you're reading this book, because January has the ability to kind of escape into other worlds. And to the reader, it does seem like it's just her imagination, but what is imagination and what's reality? So that's kind of what the book really talks about here. And there's also like a little mystery that goes into it as well. We go back and forth in time. So we have a little bit of everything, okay? We have timeline changes, we have stories within stories. So within this book, you're gonna get other stories of what our main girl January is reading, if that makes sense. And how are they all intertwined with each other and her life? She finds out a lot about herself and her past and her parents. So it's a book about self-discovery as well. It was really well done. The story had a really nice ending, and I encourage you to read this if you are interested in adventure stories, if you're interested in the power of your imagination, books within books, worlds within worlds, that kind of thing. But this was a really good ending actually to my month of September. I tried to read a little bit of everything, like I said. I think I gave you a little bit of everything. But I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited for the books I'm reading this month in October, so stay tuned for that. But that is gonna conclude this month's reading wrap up. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you've read any of these books, what do you think? If you have any recommendations, let me know. I have some more videos here if you're interested. Go check them out. But until next time, I will check you in my next video. Mwah.